Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. To start things off in probably one of the most excited about articles that I've seen in a while. I know that's been a common phrase of mine over the last couple of months. We get certain days of the week where for some reason we end up getting cryptocurrency news that is kind of covered by everyone. But this one is a bit intense, and it has to mainly do with the fact that Bitcoin has been rising in price over the last, it's been about 5 or so days right now. But there's no issue with that. But the issue being is that the amount of calls that we're getting by major companies and or people and or institutions for other people to buy Bitcoin, to get into Bitcoin, this is your last chance to get into Bitcoin, it's a bit staggering. So you'll see exactly what I'm talking about because I laid as much of it as I could out in this video. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Fidelity Digital Assets released its Bitcoin investment thesis, arguing why $1 trillion Bitcoin market is not a crazy idea. In times of 19, uncertainty and risk exposure to new investments is more of a necessity rather than a recommendation. According to Fidelity, one of the largest brokers in the United States, Bitcoin is an excellent investment for those considering to exit banks and enter the market. In October 2020, Fidelity Digital Assets, a branch of Fidelity focused on crypto markets, released a report named Bitcoin Investment Thesis, Bitcoin's Role as an Alternative Investment. In it, they analyzed Bitcoin's role as an investment and what the future could bring for the world's first cryptocurrency. And those things look quite good for those willing to take risks. For Fidelity, Bitcoin offers significant advantages over traditional financial instruments. In fact, they claim that the strength of the original cryptocurrency lies in its low correlation with any other asset within an investment portfolio. Fidelity compared Bitcoin's performance against several investments and found that the correlation between them is minimal. This suggests that Bitcoin actually acts as an independent player and has its own particular dynamics. Here's the actual PDF right here. I will try my darndest to remember to put this in the description below so that if you decide that you want to read this, then you can definitely go for it. This is happening all the time. Fidelity's not the first one who has done this. We've had other major banks. And these are all those other days where I was ranting and raving and kicking stuff around like a child as I'm giving you all the news because these are multi-billion, billion dollar investment firms, and they're constantly telling their biggest clients, hey, it's about time for you to start allocating your money into different places. Hey, Bitcoin looks really interesting. Hey, you should be allocating more than 1% of your portfolio into Bitcoin. And at the same exact time, we have other companies who are buying massive amounts of Bitcoin. And I just want everyone out there to really understand the significance of something as large as Fidelity stating in no uncertain words that Bitcoin is at least going to 5x. When you say that Bitcoin is going to hit $1 trillion market cap, that is a $50,000 Bitcoin. You're telling your investors, hey, this is the only thing that's going to have a 5x return in the next couple of years, and therefore you should be getting into it. This is, of course, major news, but of course not the only major news. The king of cryptocurrencies is seemingly winning as a safe haven asset that sucks in capital during times of financial and economic uncertainty. While the price of Bitcoin continues to struggle for upward momentum, it has continued to attract the interest of multi-billion-dollar corporations. After MicroStrategy and Square, the latest company is Stone Ridge Holdings Group, via its subsidiary New York Digital Investment Group, or NYDIG, which already holds, and I quote, they already hold $1 billion worth of digital assets. That's $1 billion. According to an announcement on the 13th of October, Stone Ridge has purchased 10,000 Bitcoin worth around 115 million US dollars. This Bitcoin stash will be under the custody of its own spin-off firm, NYDIG. Stone Ridge is an institutional asset manager with $10 billion in assets belonging to the top financial institutions and insurance companies under its management. The announcement indicates that the 10,000 Bitcoin purchase by Stone Ridge was made pursuant to its treasury reserve strategy. So apparently they're using the Bitcoin as one of their main reserve assets on their list, portfolio, whatever you want to call it. I've been discussing with two of my really good friends. You should know exactly who you are. I think one of them doesn't even listen to cryptocurrency news, which is kind of funny. Anyway, the point is, the other one in Florida, that's the one who I'm talking to. Just trying to really, I've been trying to wrap my head around all of these things. The constant news that we get about really huge companies who are buying incredible amounts of Bitcoin, but the price of Bitcoin just doesn't seem to react to this news. The idea that I normally have sometimes is that, remember the news that we got, what are they called? MicroStrategy, who purchased the $425 million worth of Bitcoin, which is well over $500 million at this point. And they said they were able to do so by executing, I believe it was 80,000 trades with their bots over the course of a 72-hour period without even making the price of Bitcoin rise. So just logically, I assume if they're able to do it, many other people are able to do this as well. And maybe have been able to do so. That sounds correct. Able to do so with other companies as well over the course of the last 2 years, who figured out ways to be able to accumulate Bitcoin with their bots without causing the price of it to rise. That's on the institutional side. That's on the very rich, wealthy side. But on the logical retailer side, I would assume that this would cause people to go completely insane. It doesn't, for some reason. I think the only people who are really taking notice, and you'll see in the other articles, are basically other rich people who are realizing that other rich people are buying huge swaths of Bitcoin, and therefore they're also like, hey, now it's time for us to get into it as well. The news that all the Bitcoin that's out there is being sucked up, is disappearing, is evaporating, should logically, in my mind, be causing retail investors, everyday normal people, to really have that light bulb, like in the cartoons when it goes beep over their heads. That should be going off for everyone, but it doesn't, and I'm not really sure why. Here's the actual press release for it. It says NYDIG raises $50 million in growth equity funding, holdings announced more than $100 million in Bitcoin as a primary treasury reserve asset. I don't know, man, and gals out there, but it's kind of like what is going on? And this is all within the same exact time frame. Like, it's not like we've been hearing the entire year, which we kind of have, that other institutions are getting into the Bitcoin space. It's been about 3.5 weeks. It was MicroStrategy with $500 million. It was Square with $50 million, and now it's Stone Ridge with $115 million worth of Bitcoin. It's been 3 weeks. If these are the publicly announcing ones, how many other companies behind the scenes are also buying without simply releasing press releases? Anyway, also on top of that as well, of course, it says Fidelity Report says Bitcoin's market cap is a drop in the bucket of potential. Both these metrics hint at a big buy signal for Bitcoin. The amount of news talking about Bitcoin's buy signal, Bitcoin's about to go up, Bitcoin's looking like it's about to go absolutely insane, Bitcoin will never be the same again, Bitcoin will never drop this low, Bitcoin is going to be doing this, Bitcoin hitting 1 million, Bitcoin going to blah, 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 today, and the day before, and the day before that, and the day before that, and the day before that, are kind of driving me insane because they're just all over the place. It says move over stock to flow. A new model creator says 90% chance Bitcoin will never dip below 11K again. This is someone else who's talking about that Bitcoin is going to hit astronomical numbers and it's never going to drop lower than we're currently seeing it right now ever again. This one says how Bitcoin could surge 500% amid rising institutional adoption. This one says enormous wall of money coming into Bitcoin, price to reach $1 million in 5 years. This was said by Raoul Pal. This whale trend indicates a flood of retail investors will soon launch Bitcoin higher. What's this one say? Retail investors will undoubtedly move to Bitcoin. This was said by Fidelity. Are you seeing the trend? Over and over and over. And this one says Bitcoin's market structure indicates a massive move higher is on the horizon. Everywhere. This is the only news that was out there. It was slim pickings for the actual news that we had. You may notice if you're looking at the tabs at the top of the video, the tabs are the Bitcoin's going to be rising higher, $1 million Bitcoin. Those tabs are almost nearly like 80% of the actual top of the page right now. Is something major going to happen? Apparently so, allegedly so, according to all these articles. It's all over the place. And this is, once again, this is just today's news. This isn't even the news that we had from all the big banks 3 or 4 days ago talking about the price was going to go up. Or Bloomberg talking about it, or JP Morgan talking about the outlook for Bitcoin. And they've all released like a PDF type paperwork thing that was sent to their largest investors, all talking about, hey, you should be looking into a portion of your portfolio to be allocated into the Bitcoin space. Keeping in mind that these people have like $300 million asset portfolios that they can allocate. Like 1% of that is absolutely insane. Anyway, yes. That's all the Bitcoin price news that I could fit into this video, because I promise you there was a lot more. The Fidelity news really took over today. I mean, to be fair, I think, if I don't know the exact number that Fidelity has assets under management, but I think it's over $1 trillion at this point. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's somewhere around that. I know it's very significant, large money, the fact that they're one of the top ones on the planet. Anyway, that's all the Bitcoin price prediction. Price moving. You should be allocating a certain portion of your portfolio news. And without further ado, let's move on. I'm already out of breath. This is absolutely insane. It's really nuts how much money is pouring into this market, and the price doesn't even move. Like, that's what really gets me, is like people, and I know it's happening. I know that people are listening to these videos, watching these videos, telling their friends, and they're like, oh, we know some other company bought some. Yeah, but the price isn't moving. And then they suck their teeth and walk away, and it's like, you don't get what's really taking place, do you? Like, these Bitcoin's going to be, first of all, Bitcoin's already one of the top world assets. It has beaten out 180 other countries on the planet, and it's stronger. It's stronger than those other countries. It's going to be a world reserve asset in about 10 years. But that's neither here nor there. Why did I think this was Disney World? Oh my gosh. Is that a Mickey Mouse on the back of her shirt? If that is, that's crazy. That means, what's it called? Not psychologically. Oh gosh, why can't I ever remember these words? Unprohibitively. Psychologically. Unbeknownst to me. That's exactly what I'm going to use. It's not the right word. I saw this and associated all of this with Disney World. I think that's Mickey Mouse. I hope she has that mouse on the back of her shirt. Bank of Russia has suggested a possibility of issuing its own central bank digital currency, the digital ruble, in a new report published. Can't find it. Published by the central bank today. The digital ruble will be an electronic version of the. Oh, thank you. Side note to everyone who actually, every time I can't remember a word, who tells me in the comment section what word I was missing. The other word from the other day was dividend. Thank you very much. I almost tore myself apart trying to figure out the word dividend, and I, for some reason, could not find it. The digital ruble will be an electronic version of the Russian national currency and will complement cash. Sure. The bank said that users will be able to use digital assets for the central bank digital currency and also convert their money freely between digital rubles into cash or bank account and back. The bank reasoned that it wanted to introduce a central bank digital currency because digital financial technologies usage was expanding in Russia and elsewhere, since a growing number of its citizens now preferred cashless payments. In fact, the nation ranks second in the global adoption of cryptocurrencies in Eastern Europe, as suggested by Chainalysis. I assure you, they're not launching a central bank digital currency or a digital ruble because they're trying to make it easy for you. I promise you, if you've never watched news of what happens here and what they're doing and the amount of cameras they have everywhere, they also have microphones all over the place. And I'm not talking about like a 1970s spy movie. Inside the actual what is it called? Like lampposts. This is also, I'll be honest with you, you can look into it. This is also in the UK as well. They have it inside the actual lamppost inside of London. They use them as indicators to see if people are getting too rowdy. And if you're getting too rowdy, authorities will be able to be located to your location through the actual GPS and Wi-Fi, whatever there is inside of the actual lamppost, and they'll be able to go to your location to nullify the situation. So I promise you, they are not doing this for the ease of their citizens and because people prefer digital payments. The actual usage of digital payments is also something that's been worked on by every country over the last 20 years to make sure that people are eased into digital payments, because digital payments are easier to follow than someone taking out paper from their wallet and handing it to someone else. You should all be smart enough to know that by now. First of all, yes, Russia plans on, of course, launching their own central bank digital currency because logic, they're trying to get control of currencies the same exact way that every other country is going to do so. Also tying directly into this as well. Russia is one of the world's largest Bitcoin markets, blockchain technology. Roskomnadzor, Russia's telecommunications services regulator, has blocked access to local Bitcoins' portal in the country, which is a major source of traffic for the peer-to-peer exchange. While trying to access local Bitcoins, a mirror of the site focused on serving customers in the country, traders find themselves with a blank page after being censored by the regulator. The problem that countries, it's not just Russia, have had with local Bitcoins over the last 3 years is that with local Bitcoins, you are able to go onto the website, go onto your phone, and simply tell other people, hey, I am looking to buy X amount. And they say, hey, this costs X amount of money. And you meet them in the street, you meet them in a cafe, and you swap it this way. You apparently tap your phone onto someone else's phone, you hand them the cash, and then you walk away. Can you see where governments would have a really big problem with that? I think 2 years ago, there was a situation where, not sure why this person thought this was a good idea. This guy, I think it was in Denmark, walked into a dark alley, told someone he wanted $5,000 equivalent worth of Bitcoin, and he got jacked. And they took his monies that he had on him because he had it all in cash. And I think that was the beginning of governments being able to come out and say, hey, this is dangerous. We have to now regulate this. Not saying that they didn't have this fella's, health in mind, but no. The whole point is this is happening all over the world. You might have noticed as we've been getting the news consistently that governments and banks are trying to make sure that every single cryptocurrency exchange has some type of AML, KYC thing within their system. I think local Bitcoins tried implementing something like that on their platform, but I think people found a way to circumnavigate it. I'm not sure how or why. I don't use this because, I'm not too keen on meeting some, like, can you imagine any other, like, imagine any other situation where you have $2,000 or $3,000 or something $1,000 in your pocket to go meet somebody in a parking lot, a cafe, an alley, to give them your money. It doesn't sound very smart. Anyway, so of course they're blocking it. Other countries have also been blocking it. It comes down to the wider idea that you can't do with your money as you plan to do with your money. Like, that is a $5,000 simply moving around without the government knowing. They do not care for that. So of course, they're making their own central bank digital currency while blocking other competition. Are you connecting the dots? Because the dots are huge. The dots are about the size of a building, and you can connect them quite easily. Let's move on. Next up, Square's recently announced $50 million investment into Bitcoin is a strong vote of confidence for the future of Bitcoin, and a signal the payments company sees a lot of potential for the cryptocurrency as an asset. This was, of course, said by JP Morgan Chase. While Square's $50 million investment pales MicroStrategy's $425 million, thank you JP Morgan's Global Market Strategies wrote that Square is likely to make more purchases. Really? Other payments companies will also likely follow in Square's footsteps or risk getting shut out of a growing segment. The JP Morgan, I don't have to read any more of this. You know, first of all, JP Morgan talks about Bitcoin all the time. JP Morgan hated Bitcoin and now they absolutely love Bitcoin. I'm going to allege and say that they probably have hedged some of their bets and they probably own at least $1 million worth of Bitcoin, whether directly or indirectly. A lot of companies have been buying through subsidiaries. Sure, why not? Please, by all means. If you don't want the word JP Morgan Chase attached to the buying of a 1 to 10 million dollar allocation into Bitcoin, but you do it through like suntan lotion, whatever company, then please, by all means, do so. Yes, the news that we keep getting, at least from JP Morgan Chase and Fidelity and from Bloomberg, which are once again major players in the financial space, is that apparently other companies are now going to be getting into it rapidly as well. This might be the avalanche that we've been waiting for. To be fair, $500 million in one go is a huge avalanche. Nonetheless, to have hundreds of millions flowing into it week after week after week. Anyway, the news is JP Morgan Chase believes that more institutions are going to be getting into Bitcoin relatively soon because of Square. I'm going to agree with them because logic makes a lot of sense. Of course, this is all that's happening. I'm on the cusp of having another rant, but I won't, because I'll just simply be saying the other things that I've said before, that I think that 90% of people just really aren't grasping when it comes to all of this. This is major. This is huge. I'm pretty sure. Remember all the news that we had, and we haven't heard a lot about this because I assume 19. That's going to be my reasoning for it. Remember all the banks in the United States who are now legally able to also get into Bitcoin and stuff as well? I'm pretty sure. I doubt that every single bank being allowed to use, buy, hold, sell, custody Bitcoin, that all these banks would have banners immediately above their head saying, hey, we can hold Bitcoin, 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 you should be buying Bitcoin. They're probably buying themselves behind the scenes as well. Let us not forget the 40 banks in Germany who we heard about in February, who signed up the day after Germany said it was that they were legally able to do so. It was 40 immediately. So one can only assume that there's probably been at least one a week, logically, over the last year as well. So all these institutions, all these banks, all these companies, all these family offices, oh yeah, you better bet on that one, are getting into Bitcoin, and unbeknownst to billions of people on the planet, these things are not happening. The same exact way you probably know tons of friends, tons of family members who are not into finance, who don't pay attention to the financial news, who have no idea what a security is, what an ETF is, what a chain link is. They have no idea that all of this stuff is happening. And they will be the ones, once again, who push the market into the trillions because they're going to do a mad dash when prices start skyrocketing. In weird news for today, because, you know, why not? Ocean Builders, a company that builds floating off-grid seapod homes, has bought an old Australian cruise ship it renamed Satoshi and plans to fill with crypto companies, entrepreneurs, and digital nomads off the coast of Panama. In an announcement, Ocean Builders COO Chad L. Wartowski said the ship will comprise a hub of innovation, offering a unique space in which crypto entrepreneurs can build and network. That I think, okay. We look forward to creating a hub of technology for innovation here in Panama. Our goal is to figure out how to live sustainably on the sea and chart new waters in this new frontier. It sounds gray area, if you know what I'm talking about. Off the coast of Panama, a whole bunch of people. Is this their way of being able to not have to regulate? Anyway, don't have to spend too much time on this one. There's going to be a boat of really rich people alone at sea off the coast of Panama. I assume they're going to be doing a lot more than entrepreneuring, if you catch my drift, because something's interesting about this. I can't exactly put my finger on it. The first 200 cabins, how many people are going to be on this cruise ship? Okay, anyway, I have a lot more to say, but I won't say it. I'm pretty sure you catch my drift, because, life. Anyway, let's move on. It's not just me, right? This is kind of weird. I assume it's going to be about 400 people floating off grid on a ship. Okay, all right. The G20's financial watchdog, the Financial Stability Board, or the FSB, has published regulatory recommendations opposing the transnational ambitions of global stablecoins such as Libra. The FSB's report offers regulatory recommendations to G20 members and the broader international community intended to prevent stablecoin projects from using opportunities for regulatory arbitrage. Oh, they're so scared, it's crazy. And becoming embedded within the financial structure of national economies. Oh my gosh, that's really crazy. I don't even have to repeat everything because you should already know. The news being that the FSB has come forward. Yesterday, we had news that the IMF, the BIS, and the World Bank had all come forward, pretty much wagging their fingers saying no. And now the FSB, which is the part of the G20, which we also spoke about yesterday, has now come forward to talk about how terrible stable coins are. And the embedded within the financial structures of other economies is exactly what I was telling you about yesterday. And I think a lot of people missed over this entire part. A lot of countries are trying to make their own central bank digital currencies. We had news in the summer that there were a couple who were already in talks with other companies who had made stablecoins. If these stablecoins are made by a company and not by the actual country themselves, it's the company that has control over the actual stablecoin and once again, not the country. So it becomes more difficult for the FSB, for the IMF, for the BIS to be able to control and wrangle these things in. The other really significant part being, and here's the big kicker, is that Libra had already been talking to other world governments. I think they had been speaking to, if I'm not mistaken, 3 countries within Africa and I think 1 within South America. And this is when we were getting the news last year, how significant this was, because if these countries are not doing well economically, and you as a social media network can create your own currency and say, we will prop your country up. We will make sure that you are economically prosperous if you start using Libra. This is why they were having talks with these countries. If a country says, yes, we will adopt Libra if you loan us $50 billion to be able to build up our infrastructure once again. That country is then owned by Facebook. They're owned by Libra. And every single time that country wants to get a loan, who do they have to go to? They have to go to the Bank of Libra. And if a country next to them who's also not doing well economically sees that they're doing well, can we set up a meeting with the people from Facebook so we can also start getting some money? What happens if Facebook has 15 countries, even if they have a country, nonetheless 15 under their belt? They are the strongest bank in the entire world. It is no longer a question of the US dollar or anything. At that point, you can't stop the avalanche of an Apple coin, of a Microsoft coin, of an Amazon coin doing the exact same thing and going to other, I'll say, vulnerable countries and pretty much saying, hey, we can do the exact same thing that we did for them, for you. And it completely tumbles out of control. And this is why we keep getting this news, because this is why they're all so obsessed with making their own central bank digital currency now, because we're here. Remember the news that we even got before that China's coin will be worldwide. They said before that it won't just simply be available within their borders. If you've been paying attention, so many things tie into each other, but people don't get it. They've made an enormous amount of apps, and these apps are worldwide right now. Remember the whole news that we got before about that dancing app, that musical dancing app or whatever? Imagine if they had integrated their own currency into that, and you had 100 million people who are using this app. And you can buy hats and sneakers and merch and all this other stuff within the app by using their currency. Everyone circumvents, 100 million people can then have the option of circumventing the US dollar. This is why Facebook's Libra with 2 billion people is so huge. First of all, that's more than half the people on the planet who are actually in the world's financial system. Now imagine the other 3 billion who aren't simply being able to buy a smartphone, Download Facebook. You got 3 billion more people in the financial. Instead of actually creating a financial structure where everyone can be included, they continue to make sure that the legacy system continues to exist to keep people, once again, poor people out of the system by only allowing certain people within their market. Like this is why Bitcoin exists. It's absolute nonsense. Can you imagine Can you imagine a world where all the governments simply came together and said during the G20, during all this other stuff, or the World Bank, and said, maybe let's create a system that's similar to Bitcoin. And I know some of you are laughing right now. Let's create something that allows 7.4 billion people to actually have access to cash, where we can all have an equal footing and an equal part in the system to make things a little bit more equal for the people who have absolutely nothing. Not taking away from the rich, but it's more like hey, let's make sure that 3 billion people are also part of our financial system. Oh no, you don't want to do that. You want to keep it the exact same way and make sure. Even the idea of stable coins is so powerful. Having this other thing that's not really tied to any other currency, like you can have some other stable coins who are talking about that it's tied to the US dollar or it's tied to the so-and-so. It's usually just a mimic of that actual thing. Like there are a couple of stable coins that are mathematically able to maintain their one-to-one peg with something without any actual reserves. Not talking about the idea of not having actual reserves to back your asset. But anyway, I could go on for hours, like literally hours talking about this. But the idea is they don't like stable coins. They don't like cryptocurrencies. The only reason why we don't get a bunch of backlash against Bitcoin is because Bitcoin fluctuates. They see what's happening. They see that people are tired of the old system and they're trying so desperately because they think that everyone just wants something digital. It's not about it being digital. It's about digital inclusion. It's about everyone having a chance to be able to enter this market and also to be able to do with their money as they so please. But we know that's not how, first of all, that's not how it's going to work for a very long time until people are forced into Bitcoin. And part of the force, and it's not even a shoving, it'll be like a Star Wars force. Like a magnetic pull is once Bitcoin starts dramatically rising in price because other people will go, I should have gotten into that. I need to buy into it. If we get a whole slew of people who get into Bitcoin by the time it's rushing past 20,000 again, and we maintain that momentum for a couple of months and we go to these, crazy numbers of a $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 Bitcoin, these people will be in our market forever. They're not going to leave. And then we will have over 1 billion people. I think, what was it, estimated that we already have over 150 million people on the planet already into just Bitcoin. Anyway, you understand what I'm trying to say. And without further ado, we're going to move on. I'm hungry. Jeez Louise. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters, Bolero Bastos, Crayola Michelle, URL, On Crypto with Lionel, Tigger Machonisa, Bake Me a Cake, Arfmedic17, Anytime Fitness, Monks 20 Staff, Bodie McBoatface, Yes to Crypto, Miller Hitch Test Every Day, and Kyle Skips Leg Day, Minting Coins, Jeremy Fox, Jim Gardner, Anthony Charles, Nick Mangialavori, Paxis, Val the Impaler, Richie Rich III, Setsuna, Damien, Crypto Artist, Coldy 3D, Bankroll Network, 242 to the World, Wise Night Owl, Jared Schneider, Master Ventures in Thailand, Moira Maroney, Adam Graysick, Todd Mullis, A Bibliophobia, The Animal Reader, John Sarson, Nostromo, Nope, Martin Steuer, Joshua Vineyard, Moonman High XRP, Utopia 569, Oscar Maldonado, Yasha Harari, Attila the Han, David James, Navarro Williams, Decentralized Peter, Auspicious Agile and Blockchain, Tolik Banana, Professor Wally from Gunbot University. Thank you all very, very much for your support. Thank you to everyone who is a member of the channel. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my newer channels. And thank you to everyone who is a supporter in their own way. At the moment, prices are going sideways. There's not really much indication as to where things are going to go. I didn't check what happened to stocks, but I think stocks fell. I'm not really 100% of that, so I can't really say. However, the top 10 is like sideways downy, if that makes any sense. Bitcoin is currently down by 0.21%. It could be a lot more. It could be 2%. It could be 21%. But here we are. Yeah, everything else is kind of mimicking Bitcoin. A lot of altcoins are in red. Lend is up by 6%. Gosh golly. Yeah. Kind of just what it is right now. I do hope that you all enjoyed. I hope that you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely okay. Wrapped Bitcoin now has over 100,000 Bitcoin. All right. Hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.